Welcome to If I Die Today. It's a podcast hosted by me, Samay Mishra. Before we begin, I want to make something really clear. This podcast is entirely independent of my professional work and my company. The views and opinions shared here by myself or by any guest are personal reflections meant to inspire, inform, and provide perspective. Nothing discussed should be taken as professional, financial, or medical advice, nor as a representative of any institution or organization that we're affiliated with. This is a space for honest conversation about life, purpose, and what truly matters, all shared in a personal capacity. Really thank you for tuning in to If I Die Today. Thank you so much. Hey everyone, this is Samay Mishra, your host with If I Die Today. I have an awesome guest today, one of my old classmates at The Ohio State University. Amazing guy, Nick Marsick. He's here to talk about fitness, bodybuilding, nutrition, all those beautiful things. And Nick, I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself, give people a little bit of background on who you are and what you do.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? Thanks for having me. First of all, Samay. Yeah, Samay's the man. One of my good old buddies from Ohio State. It's been a minute, so this is like gonna be a catch up too. But I'm Nick. Graduated same year as Samay from The Ohio State University, 2023. Degree in international business, which I believe Samay was at least somewhat involved in international business to an extent because we were doing our major classes together. But so I went graduated, worked a year at JP Morgan Chase in finance, determined that wasn't the life I want to live. Been doing fitness my whole life since high school, played sports, been active, but really took fitness, bodybuilding especially, and working out, like prioritizing nutrition and health seriously since high school. Continued to gain education about it on my own in college. Decided that corporate world wasn't for me. I wanted to make a change, and I was doing it down in Columbus, moved back to Cleveland. And then next thing you know, here we are. Got my licenses, run my own one-on-one coaching business, coach some classes at Orange Theory part-time as well. So just kind of involved in the space, but it's just something I was doing to better myself, like living my life, like healthy, fitness, and educating myself gradually. So I've been doing it. Now blessed to be able to make a living off of doing that. So it's a little bit quick background on myself.
Awesome. So me and Nick had met, kind of in our later stages at Ohio State. I think we ended up getting closer because we ran into each other at basketball, playing hoops at our pack. I never knew when I saw Nick in class he was actually a good basketball player. So are you still playing basketball here and there, or it's all strictly lifting now?
So yeah, it's basically like I got time to squeeze in 4 or 5 workouts for myself a week, but blessed to really be too busy and also not healthy enough to like hoop at a high level,
No,
because you saw me hooping. Like I've always been a competitor, and I was in shape, and I was in hooping shape, and I was pretty good,
Right.
So like if I can't hoop at that level and compete at that level against the guys that are actually good, as I'm not going to waste my time and like potentially get injured showing up in men's league where my teammates aren't necessarily that good and the comp's not that good. I haven't hooped in it's been like 9 months. People are trying to get me back out there, so we'll see. I might make a return. But we'll see. For now, I'm generally too busy. Like I work at night. Like just like the reality of like a fitness professional's life is we work weird hours because I train people who work corporate jobs, right? Doctors, lawyers, whatever. They're busy 8 to 5. So my hours occur like 6 to 11 at night a lot of times. Weekends, I'm busy too. I'm still reffing soccer and doing all this other stuff on the side as well.
Right.
So just, like I said, it's a blessing. I generally enjoy what I do, but just like haven't had time for hooping. And also like I make money off my body being able to move and being healthy, right? So
right.
basketball was the one thing that was really like bothering my knees, messing my body up a little bit, especially as I get older. I was like, I need to start taking better care of myself, removing stuff that I could potentially get injured in and stuff that just like my body's not trained to move that way. Like quick lateral movements, like, I'm maybe faster than ever running in a straight line, but I'm worse than ever moving side to side laterally because I don't train that. That's what exercise is. What you're going to be good at what you train, right? So all those factors, haven't hooped in like months, but we'll see. Might make a return, stand there, shoot a couple threes, and then play zone defense. So I don't have to move too much,
Okay, awesome. So kind of how I start off the pod is I usually try to get a little bit more context on, your upbringing, your childhood, kind of what made you who you are. Tell me a little bit about like, what are your earliest memories? What was childhood like for you? Kind of the early formative years for you. What were those like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm half Chinese. My mom is first generation Chinese American. My dad met her while he was doing business in China. So I speak fluent Mandarin. Been blessed to do a lot of traveling growing up, right? So I actually, some of my earliest memories from childhood are actually like the traveling that I did and being immersed in foreign cultures, right? So because I speak fluent Mandarin, my mom started teaching me Mandarin from a young age. When I was in preschool, kindergarten, I would go to school here in the United States. I was born in California, spent some time in Washington, ended up settling in Cleveland, Ohio when I was like 7. But my summers were spent going to China. I went to preschool in China. I went to kindergarten in China. I've been there like 10 times probably. I was going back every single summer in grade school all the way to like maybe 5th or 6th grade. Went a couple times in high school. So some of my earliest memories are traveling with my family around the world. I lived in India for a little bit too. Been to all these different foreign countries, a bunch of Latin American countries. So my formative years were, I think I would classify them as some of the earliest memories, just like being immersed in foreign cultures with people that I'm like, shit, I'm never going to see them again or anything. But like the contrast of like what America was and what kids here value or families value, and the contrast of what other cultures value. Like the education system so different, right? The stress that these kids have, the pressure on them, and like what's really prioritized and important to these other countries compared to what's important in America. And like obviously I'm like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, right? Some of my earliest memories that I'm talking about. You don't inherently get it as a kid, but you're there and you're doing it and you're like, wow, this is different. It's a lot different. Like you can feel it as a kid, right? And it's just like the love that like I had for my family and like my dad and my mom was like, I think realized by those traveling experiences, like when they would drop me off at school, like I would remember crying, right? Because I was going to school in a foreign country where I had no friends. I didn't know anyone. The teachers there all loved me and everything. And I got special treatment because I was like a white kid, you know, who could speak Mandarin, right? So I was like getting extra lunch, extra food. And like, you know, they weren't actually like taking it that hard on me in terms of school. I was in the classroom taking the tests and everything. But there was no pass or fail because I was only there for 2 months of the year, right? I was just doing whatever. I was just actually getting the full experience without having any pressure on me. But like with it being said, being in that foreign environment, you realize like, man, at that young age, like family is like everything, right? Like my parents dropping me off, I would be sitting there crying, like sad, you know? So I remember just like learning to become like uncomfortable, right? And also learning how to interact with people from other places and cultures, right?
Yeah.
Which is something that's like been ingrained in me since I was young. And those are the memories I have. Like I remember walking in India where like the traffic's not moving. You go on a bus, like you can't even stand. It's so crowded. I can remember this is like when I was 7, 8 years old. And I remember like walking down the street, you could smell the sewage from the rivers, right? With the water buffalo, like going through it. It's like, I'm like, what am I doing here when I'm 7 or 8? I was like, I just want to eat Uncrustables and play video games or like, I don't know. When I'm 7, I'm probably not playing video games. Kids nowadays are probably playing video games. But I mean, like for me, I was like, I just want to sit there and eat Uncrustables at home and go to the pool or whatever, you know, when I was 6, 7, 8. But instead I was like getting these experiences that, you know, the reality of life is like, you're not going to appreciate them fully when you're that age.
Not in that moment. No,
not in that moment. But it's like changing you as you go through them, and like thinking back to it, because like these are, like I said, these are the first things I remember. I remember being in like Washington, right, going to Vancouver and stuff like that, just doing traveling and just being present and being with my family. You know,
that's so awesome because I feel like I can definitely relate to that. So my parents are both immigrants from India, and we would go back a good amount. Maybe not as much as my older brother, but we'd go back a lot. You know, it is culture shock to a certain extent, but you don't understand that when you're a child, right? It's a lot less shocking to a certain extent because you're in it. When you grow up, I think you learn to appreciate those a lot more, those moments, because you realize, one, a lot of people in America haven't had those experiences. Like some people have never been on a plane, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that ability to know that and see how the world is, I think gives you a global perspective from the get-go, and also more receptive to talking to people from different backgrounds, right? Sure. Whoever they are, wherever they're from, whatever religion they practice, I think you're more open-minded to hearing those conversations and knowing that not only people have different values and ways of life, but they have different perspectives, which is all valuable in just whether that's in the school, in the classroom, or just in regular life. So that's good to know. I didn't know that about you. Tell me a little bit more about who were the early mentors and influences for you growing up, whether that was in that childhood portion or a little bit later on in life, middle school, high school. Was there anyone that you kind of looked up to as like an early onset mentor or positive influence in your life?
Yeah, honestly, I would say like it's cliche, but it's definitely my parents, right? It's my parents in the aspect of when I was going through my parents, like I'm same with you probably. They're immigrants, right? my dad is second generation, but his parents are Eastern European. So his parents had nothing when they came to America. My mom grew up in communism, right? So when your
Hmm.
parents are like that, right, they value what's actually important in life, which is like like discipline, right? Structure. They're not going to give you the stuff that's not necessary in life. So the reality is like my parents, without me knowing it, were setting the example, setting the model for how I can live my life today and succeed living a life where I make my own schedule, where I do what I want to do and I can execute at a high level, because they taught me that like there's certain things that you have to prioritize in life. There's certain things that matter, and you have to live your life with discipline and intent, right? To be able to be good at anything. And it's like the hours that I was forced to play piano growing up, the hours that I spent, studying Mandarin Chinese. I would go to school, I would come back and do 2 hours of additional homework, right? Whether it was math, spelling, reading, whatever, and then learn Mandarin on top of it, play 2 instruments. And that was just the expectation, plus go play sports on top of it. So as my parents models in that, like, when you're growing up, you don't appreciate how they're executing or what they're doing, right? Like I didn't know like what my dad even really did for a living, or what, or how much money he was making, whatever, right? I was like, but I know that this guy's present in my life. He's paying attention to me. Same with my mom. I was like, she's there. She's like taking me everywhere. She's cooking me these meals and stuff. I was like, this is like the showing me like love to another human, but also like a work ethic and like showing that like, okay, I think this is important and I'm going to really work my ass off to get it. And that's like, I was always really impressed with my parents, and I still am to this day, And like
Yeah,
building on
no, that's
top of it,
awesome.
I'd say it's like playing sports. Like I played baseball and basketball pretty competitively growing up for like a long time. It's like not anyone like in particular. I was always kind of like a really like individualized kid where like I kind of like I had discipline to an extent on my own, as much as like you can when you're 10, a teenager, whatever, right? And I was also kind of like driven and motivated, but it's always like the coaches you have, the experiences you have with other players, other parents and stuff that kind of like help guide you, and like that you're appreciative of that as you go through. Some coaches, the coaches that were bad taught me just as much as the coaches that were good. I was
No,
like, I was
100%.
able to, I think that's what people like. I don't really have that cliche answer of like this person besides my family, because I'm really big on family, and it truly is. I'm just blessed to have two great parents, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't have that cliche answer of someone really mentored me or guided me. Think I had more of that in like into high school, college, maybe, right? But like when I was growing up, it was more so being observant and not trying to like speak or like just go off my own thinking without like actually analyzing and observing the situations around me. So I was able to analyze like, okay, I thought this guy was a bad leader, a bad communicator. What did he do wrong in his life that I don't want to repeat and do in the future? I thought this coach was really good at connecting with me, and I really bought into what he was doing. And I was like, okay, what did he do that I really resonated with that got me more motivated to be able to perform or want to show up and get better, right? So it's just taking the good and
Definitely.
the bad experiences, whether it's interaction with coaches, parents, like I said, other teammates, and kind of learning about that, but observing, like not always being like pretending to know more than I did, but trying to just take it in stride and like learn, and then like be able to be like potentially do better than that on my life or copy that if I liked it.
Yeah. No, definitely. And when you're a kid, like even when you're young, one, your parents are always going to be that direct influence. And the fact that they already kind of instilled this regimented nature, structure, and discipline, that also translates into sports, right? Sports is the same environment, and you'll thrive if you carry those same characteristics. And you kind of have to if you want to be good or competitive
%.
in those
Yeah.
spaces. But I really like the idea of like bad coaches or bad teachers can also be
100%. Yeah.
valuable, equally valuable in teaching lessons. I mean, I don't know if when I was young I could perceive the value of like a bad coach at the time. For me, it was always just like, man, like this really sucks compared to like this coach. Like I know I do better with this coach, but you realize sometimes you need to experience the bad to be able to one appreciate the good and know what good is.
For sure.
But
100%.
also, I
Yeah.
think when I look back on those times, like those were equally as important. Same thing to this day. Like if you have a bad boss, I think like a lot of people can share that a reality. Like I
Yeah.
think you need to go through those experiences. So when you're in a healthy situation, you can appreciate that healthy situation, but also identify the things that like I never want to be if I'm ever in a leadership
100%. Yeah.
position. Awesome. So when did fitness or lifting weights or bodybuilding
Yeah.
become something more important to you? Was there like a
Yeah. I
turning
mean,
point?
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I can like, this is like, it's just, became like the number one thing I love to do in life. But I know the exact turning point in my life. I was actually the kid that I would try to skip workouts. If I was like baseball, basketball practice, they're like, okay, you got to show up at 6 a.m. and lift. That was the least favorite part of my day. You know, I hated it. I couldn't even. I remember there's a vivid memory like freshman, sophomore year of high school. I was like in the gym, in the weight room. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't care, right? I didn't want to be there. I was like, let me just go hoop. Let me just go get in the batting cage, right? Take batting practice. I was like, let me get better that way. That's what I enjoyed to do. That's what I loved about the sports, right? I had no idea about recovery, taking care of my body or anything. There's a vivid memory, like I said, I was in the weight room. There's a 45-pound plate on the ground. I was like being such a bitch that I couldn't even pick the 45-pound plate off the ground. I was like, and then one of my buddies had to like come, he's like, here, put your finger under it, just pick it up, you know, because it was flat against the ground. I was like, what? I was like, it's not lifting up. I was like, I remember that, right? This is like freshman, sophomore year of high school. I hated it, you know? So it's like comes on like about junior year of high school. I was like, you know, I was like kind of not as in love with sports as I was like earlier in my life. You know, I was more so like, damn, I'm like a 6 foot, like 140-pound, like skinny kid, you know? And you know what it is like my sister was doing this modeling thing, right? So she took me to a couple of her like modeling clinics and like auditions and stuff like that. And this was like junior year of high school, right? So I went there and I was like, okay. I was like, there's some people here that look good. I was like, you know, they're in shape. They got abs. You know, they're confident because they look better. I was like, damn. I was like, I'm just relying on the fact that not that I was relying on anything to get anything. I'm just a 6 foot tall kid who's not doing anything. I was like, I want to look better, you know? So like she took me to this. I kind of was exposed to like, okay, there's people out there taking care of themselves, looking good. I was like, then that is respectable. I like that. I want to kind of like learn more about what's up with that. And because like I wasn't as in love with like, I was kind of losing my passion for baseball at that point, which had been something that I was just investing like hours a day in for my whole life. All I did was, you know, standard high school kid. I wanted to play video games, just play sports, right? And like, but then come junior, senior year, I was losing my passion for it. I loved hooping, but I loved hooping in a pickup sense, right? So like I still loved basketball, but baseball, something that I spent 10 months of the year on, was like kind of losing passion for that, right? So summer of junior year, after it, I was like, a gym right by my house was like 2 months of the year, really nice equipment, one of the better gyms in the area in Cleveland, right? Was like 2 months of the year high schoolers can get in for free. One of my buddies on the rugby team was already into lifting, one of my best friends, right? I was like, let's go there. I'm going to commit to it this summer. Let's see what's up with it. Let me start lifting. I'm going to try to change myself and just get better, right? I was like, I want to get more muscle. And honestly, here's the thing, like simply put, like the reason why I mentioned the modeling thing is this. A lot of people, especially our age, when they start exercising, you're lying to yourself if you say that you didn't do it to look better.
That's reality. 100%. That's the right
way. Right. And that's why I think why I've been successful in this business, which I'm sure we'll get into later and stuff, is that I'm open and I'm real with people. But the reality is what it took me in my head to make the turning point was I was losing passion and other shit in my life. But I also saw people who looked good and took care of themselves. And I was like, I want that. I was like, I don't fucking look good. I don't feel as confident in my skin as I should. And I was like, how can I change that to get more confident? And that's the reality of it. Especially people our age. That's what I said. If you start working out when you're 15, all the way to maybe 30, 35, whatever, people who are in the younger age, who are single in relationships, whatever, looks matter when you're young, right? Or how you feel about yourself, right? The reality is,
exactly. I think like, sorry to cut you off, but it's exactly like it's not just the looking good. I think that's like a huge point, but it's like also what that does to how you feel. And I think early on, like, why do you want to look good? It's because you want to feel good. You want to feel good about people looking at you and feeling good. And like that's such a bigger part of like building that intrinsic level of confidence and security in yourself. But yeah, 100%. That's also, I think, a big part of consistency too, right? Like, I think people, when they first get into the gym, at least this was true for me, when I was first in the gym, it was really because of sports. So we had lifting classes, but those were all structured for athletic lifting. They were never for bodybuilding. Like any bodybuilding exercises, like we would usually push off because they weren't like catered to like the athletic things that we were doing for either basketball or volleyball. But when I started like lifting for aesthetics, I didn't really start getting consistent like day to day, day in, day out, and matching my diet until I started seeing results. And that took like 3 to 6 months to just even seeing like a slight change. But when you start seeing that sort of motivation is so different.
It's addicting, man. Yeah. That's what happened in my life. Absolutely. Like, so what it is like, that's why I said, like, you're lying to yourself if you didn't do it for like the superficial purposes, but then it becomes much more than that later on. And even if you do it for years, it becomes so much more. But I started that junior year after. I was like, simply put, I was like, I want to look better. I was like, I feel like weak. I feel small. You know, I'm 140 pounds. I'm like 6 foot tall. I knew in my head, I was like, I'm around athletes. I'm around people who were jacked, who looked good for our age, right? I was like, I want to be
Mm.
better. I was like, I'm committing to going 5 days, 6 days a week with my buddy every day. And like, as soon as I got into it, I did like 2 weeks. I thought it was like jacked as fuck after 2 weeks. You know, I was like, damn, man. I was like, man, the bench press is like flying up now. I was like, I'm hitting 135 for 2. I was like, I'm jacked. I was like, I fell in love with it. I was like, this is addictive. I literally like, I showed up to basketball summer league, to like games, and like I couldn't walk because my legs were so sore because I went so hard in the weight room on squatting, and I didn't care that I went and missed every shot because I was like, I love lifting more. And I just like went and I did it. And I've always been the type of guy in my life where if I set my mind to do something, I've been lazy in certain aspects of my life because if I know I don't want to do something, I've never put effort or energy into it. I don't believe in giving your energy to stuff that you don't think will benefit you long term, or stuff that you know that like it's just not probably not worth it. Pretty good at differentiating it. Obviously, high school boys are the dumbest people on the planet. So I was stupid about that to an extent, right? But I was like lifting, I was like, I'm committing to it and I'm going to do it. And in addition to that, like I was like, I had the commitment in my head, but I saw some results. I saw the bench press go up. I was like, damn, I'm squatting a little more, right? So you get that tangible results. You also like, I've also always had a really good sense of like self-confidence. So I had probably too much to an extent, right? So I was like, after 2 weeks, like I actually was like, man, I was like, my bicep is getting bigger. In reality, like I look back at it now, right? What is this? Like, damn, 7, 8 years later?
Yeah.
Because I'm now 25. This would have been when I was like 17. It's like 7, 8 years later. I still think I started 2 years ago in my head. It's crazy because that's how much I like it. Time just like blends together. But I was like, awesome. Man, like if I look at myself from year 2 to 3, a crazy difference. Year 4 to 6, crazy difference. Like even now I feel better. I'm moving my body better, you know?
When you first started, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Was your friend who was in rugby, was he someone who was also guiding you through form and the right movements and like the right amount of sets to do and reps to do? Like, did he just give you like a schedule and you just kind of stuck with it, or did you start doing research on your own?
Yeah, that's like that. And that's like what I'll go into is like, yeah, absolutely. That's a really good segue into like how I developed, like, cause here's the thing, like, so he went with me every day. Him and I agreed to commit to go together. And he was like, so he was like, I like this influencer. We're going to follow his program. And I got lucky as fuck. I'm not going to lie to you, because the program I followed was like, now that I have more knowledge, not the greatest program, but it was more than feasible, especially for someone who was a beginner. I just got lucky. I was like, and he was there to help push me, spot me, give me the form too, because he was there in there grinding. He's a really hard worker. He's still stronger than me to this day, you know? I was like, shit, I was like, I think my physique looks better, but I would say, hopefully he doesn't watch this because he knows who he is. But like, he's still stronger than me than this day, but he was in there grinding, pushing with me, able to spot me, give me the correct form, and we were following this plan from this fitness influencer online, which God forbid, I just got lucky. It had legs involved, glutes involved, back, arms, everything, comprehensive, right? A lot of kids, even kids nowadays, they start lifting, they're like, I'm only going to do arms, I'm only going to do chest, upper body. I'm just blessed that I have a really well-rounded physique where my lower body and my glutes and legs are actually better than my upper body, which you don't have to be the biggest guy in the room, but you look better that way, right? But also the posterior chain legs are what makes you healthy. You have to have muscle there as you get older, right? So I just got really lucky that I was barbell hip thrusting as a 17-year-old. There's dudes nowadays who are like, oh, that's sus. People looked at me, they're like, it's sus. Why are you barbell hip thrusting? I'm a 17-year-old. I was like, well, the program calls for it. I got to do it, right? I was like, I'm committed to this. I'm not going to half-ass it and skip stuff, because I was like, I don't know anything about this, so I need to follow someone that knows what is up. And I was like, that's like a point in my life where I think I've been really good at it. It's like, you want to be the dumbest person in the room. You see billionaires say that all the time. That's really true. And I've always tried to been like, if you can be the dumbest person in the room and not think that you're smarter than other people, you can correlate the general opinions and kind of formulate your own and educate yourself and get better. So I was like, I don't know anything about this. Why would I skip out? I was like, I don't know what benefit this has. I don't know what negative it might have, but I'm going to follow it and I'm going to do it because I agreed to commit to it. So I took that and I ran with it, you know, and then like 2 years later, I go to college. I feel confident enough. I'm way stronger. I'm actually significantly bigger. I went from 140 to 175 in that first 3 months of working out. Combination, I started eating more. You definitely gain some muscle. You gain muscle faster when you first start off, right? So you get newbie gains. You can gain 12, 15 pounds of muscle easy in a year if you follow the right programming and eat correctly, you know? And that's like that's a pretty average estimate. So you add that, you're obviously going to gain some fat too, but you gain a lot of weight and you look better, you know?
Was diet always a part of the program? Like, was that something that program had also mentioned, or was that something that you inherently knew?
Yeah, diet was not included. I didn't know nothing. All I knew was that, like I said, my parents, I owe everything to my parents. My mom was at home. She's been blessed to be able to stay home and like just take care of the family
Mm,
our whole lives. And she's making organic salmon, like wild caught
man.
organic salmon, chicken, broccoli, rice,
Oh, she was
pasta.
setting you up for success.
So yeah, so like that's why I said I just got lucky, man. People are like it's life's a combination of luck, like determination, and like opportunity being in the right place at the right time. It's got a bunch of stuff has to come
100%.
together, right? I changed my mindset to make a decision, but I also got lucky. I got lucky that I followed a plan that included legs. I got lucky that my mom was there cooking chicken and broccoli for me, unlimited amounts of protein, which I needed at that age, right? Because I
Right.
didn't focus on recovery, I didn't focus on sleep. So these other parts of my progression weren't as dialed in as they should be, right? But I was getting the nutrition and I was working out really hard, which when you're a beginner, you can get away with that stuff and still make crazy gains. So I
Right.
knew
Right.
nothing about the diet. I just knew that I had to eat a lot of protein and I love eating. I've always loved eating. And I was just like, I grew up eating whole foods from my mom. So eating vegetables, eating chicken, eating rice, eating sweet potato was never a problem. I enjoy eating
Hmm.
that stuff, right? And my mom was just making it. I was like, Mom, I got to eat more. I was like, let me bring a salad. It's like senior year of high school. I got so serious about it. I was like, I had a Skittle addiction, just like every high school kid, right?
Mm,
I cut out sweets. I cut out Skittles. And I was like, Mom, bring me a salad to school. I was eating like a pound of carrots, tomatoes, and lettuce as a senior in high school, just in a box with no dressing on it. I
man.
cut out like dairy. That's how serious about it. I was like, I'm not just gonna go hard in the gym. I was like, I'm gonna fully commit to it because I want to see how far I can take it. Right.
That's awesome.
And so with that, what it is, it became a lifestyle, right? And that's when you really make progress is what you enjoy to do becomes a lifestyle and it seeps into the other areas of
And
your
like
life.
also
Yeah,
like
go
a part
ahead.
of your
Yeah.
identity, right? Like it felt
Right.
like this is something not just that I do, but this is like who I am. Like I eat
Right.
healthy, I work out, I
Yeah.
train.
Yeah.
So you were going into when you had gotten to college. Did something like change when you got to college?
Yeah, so it was like I was eating healthy, it was good, and it was just like what it became that senior year. It was a thing I looked forward to most in the day, and that's what exercise still is to me. It was a mental escape, it was a physical challenge, and it was just I fell in love with it. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever, seeing results, but also the feeling you get when you're in there, connecting with people in the gym, connecting with my friends that I work out with. I became best friends with some of my best friends because we spent so much time in the gym together just talking about life between sets, like grinding through the struggle together, a struggle
Mhm.
together, like first world problems of like, in the gym, just
Yeah,
working
yeah.
out. But it's like building fortitude for like, cause we're
No, it's
blessed in reality,
definitely
right?
it's
But when I
definitely
went
a
to
social
college, yeah,
environment.
yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Some of the best like friends I have, relationships in life are from the gym. I met people that I never thought I would meet just by being cool with them in the gym. It's unbelievable, right? But I went to college. Next thing you know, you're at Ohio State, you're away from home. And like, I was just like eating healthy at the gym. I was eating healthy. I was going to the gym. And like, when I was like, man, I was like, I don't really have an urge to party. I don't have an urge to drink. I don't have an urge to smoke. I was like, I want to go to the dining hall, eat chicken breast at 8 o'clock, go work out and then play basketball after. And this is like me freshman year of college. That's how much like lifting permeated into my life. Yeah. So like a little bit about me, like in like college, like I still like I've never smoked weed once in my life. I've never smoked a cig. I've never done coke. Never done like any drugs. I've been drunk one time in my life. And
Mhm.
it's not because of some moral high ground. It's not because I was trying to be better than other people. I was like, I want to be the best version of myself. And I was like, I'm putting in all this work in the gym, all this work on eating, all this work on trying to educate myself because I really got big on trying to educate myself come about probably COVID times. That's a little bit down the road, but this is like freshman
Mhm.
year, senior year of high school, junior year when I
Right, right,
started. I
right.
was like, I skipped the experimentation stage. I was like, my friends were out there partying, even in high school, right? They're out there drinking, having parties or whatever. I was in the gym at 7 p.m. on a Saturday night, not because I was trying to, prove something or anything. I was trying to prove to myself that I could do it and that it's just because I was there because I loved it. So I never got
Yeah.
into drugs. I never got into drinking.
That's
I
awesome,
was able to
man.
live a
That's
pretty
probably why me and
distraction.
you didn't meet freshman year.
Nah, right,
Freshman year and
right.
sophomore year is probably why we met junior year and senior year. But
Yeah,
that's so awesome to have that discipline intrinsically from the get go. And I want to dig in a little bit more. I know that's the mindset is extremely important,
for
but
sure,
I'm a little bit more curious on the nutrition and the fueling. I'm sure when you're dealing with clients all the time, a lot of people get that part wrong.
for sure.
What's like the biggest misunderstanding people have when they first get into lifting or working out with the nutrition side of things? Like, is it really like 80% of the battle, or What's the big misunderstandings or problems you see early on with clients?
Yeah. So that's really good, man. That's like a loaded question for sure. Because honestly, what I would say is like diet matters, but it actually matters less than you think. Like what I would
Okay.
tell people. But what I would say what matters is I've been blessed to work with people of all ages, and I see people in the gym, and I'm someone who like I said, got lucky that I created a well-rounded physique and a well-rounded way of moving my body throughout exercise. What I would
Mhm.
say is the number one most important thing is to get a program that
Mm.
is dialed in, right, to suit your needs, but also like that is like going to progress you towards your specific goal of what is exercise for you. I have 55
Okay.
year olds who are not trying to look like me aesthetically, right? What they're trying
Right.
to do is my back hurts. I have really
Right, right.
limited hip mobility, right? I can't extend my back straight. I can't squat. I need to be able to take care of my kids when I'm 70 or spend time with my grandkids. I want to move better, right? And the reality is
Mhm.
55 is really late to start it, but you're not screwed. You can do it. But it's about
Yeah.
how am I going to train that muscle that I'm training or that movement through a full range of motion with stability and load it over a long period of time? If you
Mhm.
compound that, you do it consistently, you're going to see really good results, right? So a lot of
Right.
people, first of all, don't have the reason in their head about what they're trying to do in the gym itself, whether
Mhm.
it's motivation. They're probably not educated. Most people aren't educated about what they're doing in the gym. That's the reality of it. People are good at what
Right.
they do, and people make it to the top because it could education, discipline, talent, all that stuff, right? Just like a corporate world, you can be really good at it, but it took you a while to get there, right? And you actually dedicated yourself to it. Like I could walk in a corporate office right now, I'll be like a newborn in the gym, right? It's vice versa. It's what you're good at in life or what you care about, right? But
Mhm.
people just don't have the right plan dialed in a lot of times, the discipline, the motivation, and the ability to push themselves and understand that their body can do a lot more than they think. So
Yeah.
in my mind, if you're going to adhere to a diet's super important, right? Getting protein in is important. If you want to lose weight, it's the law of thermodynamics, right? You have to consume less than your output is, and you will lose weight. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you're
Yeah.
consuming less calories, you're going to lose weight. That's the basic line. That's what diet is. Then you can talk about micronutrients, you can talk about protein, all that stuff matters. But here's the thing. If you're in the gym exercising, your body can, first of all, do a lot more than you think. It's about the
Mhm.
mindset of can you believe that your body can do it and how can I execute on it? And that's where a lot of people go wrong. 95% of people
Okay.
failed right away because their plan is not correct. You don't have to hire a coach. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like a bodybuilder. You don't, but you have to understand why you're there and what your goal is, right?
The intentionality behind,
Mm-hmm.
like, what you are there for, whether that's to am I trying to get stronger? Am I trying to be
Right.
more mobile?
For
Am I
sure. Right.
trying to, and I think that's so valuable because, yeah, we are talking about all age ranges here, right? When you're like, whether it's someone that's young, old, middle aged, people have different needs and it's not a one size fit all. It's not a cookie cutter answer for everyone. And I think the motivation aspect that you're talking about is so important because, even when I talk to my parents to this day, they're not someone who, came to this country and had time even to think about fitness or
Yeah.
like taking care of themselves. And
Yep.
obviously, like diet's so important, but now, just now, when they're getting to their 60s and late 50s, where they're finding an exercise that one only that they like doing, that they want to do consistently, but the mindset is so important of like, you're not gonna want to do something if like if it doesn't feel good to you or if
For
you
sure.
don't
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
knowledgeable about the things that you're doing. So I guess that's the first step, right? It's like when you first are deciding to get fitness together, it's like, all right, what do I actually want to achieve with this? And
Right.
then what
Right.
type of training and program is associated and aligned with that?
Yep. Yep. And it's like, here's the reality of life. You're not going to 100% know when you start, right?
Right, 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 right.
Because life, in order to get better at anything, we have to continuously progress and educate ourselves. To the day till the day I die, my mindset is I will never know everything about exercise or anything in life in general, and I'm always getting better and progressing. If you feel like you know everything and you got to that point, your life may as well just be over at that point. What are you living for, right? We're humans, we're
Right.
imperfect, so we got to keep getting better, right? So you're not going to have all the answers. You're not going to know everything to start. I knew nothing when I started, but what was my motive? I had a motivation. That's what allowed me to have discipline and consistency. The reality of the gym is it's a lot more simple, and the diet. It's discipline and consistency with effort over a long period of time. So if you don't have the motivation and the why as to what you're doing there, or it's just like any reason, what's going to keep you going back, right? Like what's going to keep you going back, and you're never going to be able to progress if you don't consistently show up and go back, right? For me, like I
Mhm.
told you, it was the vain reason. I'm open and honest about it. I wanted to physically look better. I wanted
Mhm.
to be able to take my sweatshirt off and be like, damn, that dude is jacked. You know, it sounds arrogant as hell. I was like, whatever. But if I was being real with myself, that's why I started, right? Then it became so much more. So you got to find your why, right? I have clients who it's like, okay, my back is in crippling pain. I've lost so much weight. I've lost so much muscle. I need to gain some back and some movement, right? I have other people who they're younger. They're like, I want to look good. I want a bigger ass.
Mm-hmm.
Good. That motivation of simply having a bigger ass, okay, that's something we can work with.
That also helps you, right? Because
right, that impacts my programming for them.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. I'm like, okay, you might want more leg centric. Let's add some more glute movements in there. Let's train the glute through a whole range of motion so you can get maximum results in that area you want, so that it's fun and exciting for you. Because what's the reality? If you have a motivation behind it, you can then therefore see results, right? So I saw results after results in my head after a month. I was like, oh shit, I'm getting big, right? But then it made me more motivated to keep showing up and educating myself. So it all comes back to that fact that if you don't have a goal, you then can't see results because you don't know why you're there. How would you ever progress, right?
You also don't know what you're looking for, right?
Absolutely.
Like if you don't define that outcome or KPI, for corporate terms or like that indicator, then you won't be able to overload that over like a long period of time and get, progressively better. But you also won't know what to look for. It's like you're not going to have abs in, whatever 1 month that you're doing the gym if you're not eating properly and you haven't set the caloric deficit and all the things that come with that goal.
Sure. Yep. So that's what it is, right? It's like, your goal was to lose weight to look better. So then I was like, okay, I got to gain some muscle so that I can look lean while cutting weight. Then then I got to eat in a caloric deficit too. So let me try to get that right or educate myself about that, right? And how can I move towards that? But you got to have that inherent motivation, right? So that's why I said, like, the motivation in the gym and the ability to consistently show up and do it for a long period of time, in my opinion, is much, much more valuable than a diet, even a nutrition. The diet and the nutrition is kind of the cherry on top and what could take you to that next level where you take your shirt off and you got like 6-pack with obliques and you're like, oh, you got a physique that looks like a movie star or something, right? Mm-hmm. When you're talking about nuances like that, that's when diet really matters, right? You can't be drinking alcohol crazy, eating 5 Guys every day or whatever if you want to look like that, right? Have obliques, abs, like be lean and in shape, especially as a natural athlete. If you're not going to do steroids and you're going to do it the right way and build yourself over time, you probably can't do that and look like, like Glenn Powell. That's the reality of it, right?
There definitely be compromises.
Right. There's people walking around in your neighborhood that actually in reality look like Glenn Powell, but they sacrifice something to look like that, right? Especially if they did it naturally, right? So it all comes back to like that stuff is like, can you do it over a long period of time? Can you do it consistently? And can you continue to educate yourself about it so that someone else doesn't have to tell you what to do and you can get better and do it on your own? Because when you can do it on your own and you have a general understanding, you're educated, then it permeates to other areas. You're like, okay, I got the weightlifting in dialed. I enjoy it. Now let me educate myself about the diet or what I need to do, what micronutrients I want to consume, the amount of protein I want to consume to get to my goals of how I want to look, right? Or mentally even. Like it's just like, it's a mental and physical tie-in, It's
like a positive reinforcement too, right? Because I think once you start seeing X amount of results, it becomes a lot easier for you to want to do those things, for you to want to eat right, for you to want to go consistently, go on off days and do those things. And also creates some sort of level of sustainability too. I think that's something that this year has been really important to me is like, when I was in high school, you could just wake up in the morning, start lifting, like do your early 5 a.m. lift and then hoop for 2 hours and then go to school and then have practice again. Like now when you're working a lot of the day, sitting down, the ability to like have movement, mobility, do functional exercises, like try to incorporate running and all those things like become like so important to have the sustainability to just keep doing it. Because at a certain point, it's an effort, I think, to go to the gym. But like you said, you start to feel good. Like it's a euphoric almost, like you go to the gym and no matter how bad you feel before or after, you feel good that you went, like you showed up. And it feels good just after the fact, like whether that's, body wise, like creating dopamine or just feeling good that you showed up for yourself.
Yeah.
We've gotten a lot to know about your mindset, and that was ingrained early on, the importance of nutrition, but also, how important that first understanding the intention behind, your what you want to do with exercise. Tell me a little bit about balance. Obviously, you tried out the corporate life a little bit.
Yeah.
What was it like in that moment? Even during that time was around the time that you had enrolled in a bodybuilding competition too, right?
Absolutely.
What did the balance look like there with work, relationships, family, lifting and working out? What was that balance like? Was it felt like something you had to create time for or something that was just inherent in the schedule?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. So when I answered in two parts. One about my bodybuilding journey specifically and like how I'm prepping for a show. So I've always been in shape to an extent, right? But that's when I went and
Mm-hmm.
lost 40 pounds and I was actually on a regimented diet to lose weight. So I could talk about how that impacted my desire to work out relationships, whatever, but also talk about it from a corporate perspective. Yeah. So I've always been like maybe the least anxiety ridden kid. Like I know my mindset on life is good. I'm unbothered. We're truly blessed to be living where we are, doing what we're doing. Reality is, Samay, you are in the 1%. I'm in the 1% of life. We were in
Mm-hmm.
the 1% the day we were born. We just got lucky with the parents we have, right? They came from
100%.
nothing, but they built something and they were able to provide us with a life that is 1%. 1% means there's still millions of people above you, but that means there's billions of people below you, right? Who would die to have what you have, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's my mindset, my general mindset. Life is good. I can't be stressed, right? But here's the one thing. I went to work in corporate America. I got a job in finance at JP Morgan Chase, one of their corporate offices in Polaris and Columbus. Actually, during my time there, I loved the culture. I loved the firm, but I hated sitting at a desk. I didn't even have a finance background. I was an international business major. So you know how our classes were, a lot of case
Mm-hmm.
studies, right? Market entry, market exit, like how is this company going to succeed in another country, blah, blah, blah. I was next thing you know, looking at PowerPoints and Excel and, sitting at an office desk from 7:30 to 5. Every job I've done in my life up to this point was I ref soccer, I umpired baseball, I was an athlete, I was moving around, right? So next thing you know, in college, I was go to class, work out, play basketball, same thing, moving around nonstop. Next thing you know, all of a sudden it's 2023 summer, I'm sitting, it's 90 degrees outside, the UV's 9. I was like, man, I used to be tanning during this time outside lying on my porch. I'm sitting at a desk in an office in Columbus where it's like 61 degrees inside, the air conditioning's so cold. And I was like, I'm not moving my body. I'm kind of sad. And the closest I think in my life I've ever come to depression, I wasn't even depressed during this time. There's people going through much worse than I did or whatever, like but was when I worked corporate, the year that I did corporate America. I was like, and crazy as it is, that's why it was a really good question by you. I actually didn't have great motivation to go to the gym that year. I didn't have great motivation to even like hang out and like see people. I was so worried about like what project I had to get done next, or I hated the job so much. I'm gonna be completely open and honest with you. I was worried about how little work I could do to get by and continue to just keep showing up and like skate by under the radar. But
Mm-hmm.
whether you give maximum effort or you're worried about getting that next PowerPoint ready, whether you give minimum effort like I was and at the bottom of the totem pole, just not trying, it weighs on your mind because you're thinking about how am I going to go in tomorrow and execute whatever I want to do to make it by, right? And I generally dreaded every Sunday night. I was like going to bed. I was like, man, I am
Sunday
not happy.
scaries.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not happy. I was like, I was like, I don't want to wake up. I don't want to do it. I know the week ahead's going to suck. I don't enjoy anything about it. I enjoyed the people I work with. I enjoyed talking to them, getting to know them.
Mm.
I enjoyed all the networking that I did. I enjoyed the culture of the firm. Really smart people working at Chase. I see why they're top of the line, right? People are geniuses next to me. I was like, man, these people are smart as shit. The teams we worked with overseas, the people sitting next to me, I see why they're making a lot of money. But I don't see them being happy, right? I was like, they're
Mm.
not happy. I was like, I'm not happy being here. I was like, I'm living my life at that point for someone else. And I'm getting a monetary number that I didn't feel was justifiable to the amount of effort or time that I was giving, right? And even I was like, you could pay me $500,000 for the job I was doing. And I think you couldn't have bought the happiness. I was like, that's not even worth it at that point. I was like, what's life if you're not inherently happy with yourself? Because my whole philosophy is my physical and mental has to be right, right? I would get
Mm-hmm.
home from work at 5, especially in office days, 5:30. And that's like, I was one of the earlier people to leave. There's people staying there till 6, 7, 8, 9, doing whatever they have to do.
Yeah.
It's project based, right? You work in corporate America, you get it. If you got a project, you got to get it done. And I was like, man, I'm tired. I just want to sit here and eat dinner, watch YouTube. And I was like, I don't even want to work out. I was like, it's too late at night for me to take caffeine and pre-workout. I won't be able to fall asleep between the anxiety of having
Mm-hmm.
to go to work and the fact that I consume caffeine. So I was like, I got to go do this
Yeah.
workout without caffeine, right? I was at work too. I was like, the heaviest I ever was when I was working corporate because I was sitting at a desk all day and I would just go there, rip 2 breakfast sandwiches, go load up at the lunch buffet, eat whatever I wanted. I weighed like 224 when I was working corporate, which for me is a little fluffier. You know, I walk around normally probably 12% body fat, you know, you know, you could put up a picture of me from my IG or whatever. I'm pretty lean in this shape, which is how I am now. I'm very lean. That's like how it is. Like, you don't have to be the biggest person, but if you're lean, it looks good, right? And that's what I am. I've always been lean, but I was fluffier then. I was probably more like 17, 18% body fat. I was getting up there a little bit because I was 223, 224, sitting there at a desk for 9 hours a day. So it impacted my mental, right? And just like what I said, I didn't look forward to working out anymore, which working out has always been the one thing that I look forward to. But it was a struggle for me to get motivated to go. Like you exactly said earlier, I was feeling better after I would go, right? Like I was, okay, I feel better. There's dopamine. I know I did something, and this is still what I like to do the best, but I wasn't that excited to show up. And this is what I do for a living now. It's what I've loved. I didn't go to the bars in college. On Thursday nights, I was in the gym at 11 p.m. So that shows you the mindset of where I was and how much I love the gym. Just use that as an example. The corporate world weighed me down so much that I didn't even look forward to going to the gym after the corporate world. I was a kid that was in college. At 11 p.m., I was at the RPAC working out, right? But that just shows how much I love it, just as an example. And I was like, damn, I'm not excited to go. I was like, I don't even want to go eat with my friends because like I'm tired. I was like, I don't want more food. I don't want to interact with them. I was like, I'm tired of talking to people that I didn't really care to talk to during the day. I'm tired of hearing advice and input and feedback from people that I didn't necessarily respect. Because here's the thing, when you look good physically and like it permeates to your mental and your spiritual, right? You carry yourself in a different way. What I saw in corporate America was people who were extraordinarily smart and top of the game of what they were doing, but they weren't doing it for themselves. They weren't right physically. They weren't right mentally. Inherently deep down, I know there was dissatisfaction with how they felt about themselves or how they carried themselves. I'm a true believer in life that you can be poor as shit. You can be rich as fuck. It doesn't matter. But if you're right mentally, physically, spiritually, you're never going to be 100% because like I said, you're always progressing and trying to get better. But if you're not there and you're not in love with yourself, none of that stuff matters because all you have in the end is yourself and how you feel about yourself and how you carry yourself, how you build yourself up, right? And how you do that through life and how do you progressively get better on your own because that will translate and permeate to other areas of their life. I saw people who worked really hard for a corporation that makes trillions of dollars a year and who, if you walked out the door, they're going to replace you and post your job the day after, probably the day of, right? Nice, you got some money out of it, but they don't care about you, right? I saw them work till 6, then they would go home, take their kids to soccer practice, do all this other stuff. I have to make dinner for my family. Nice. That's great. That's what having a family is. You have to be selfless and give yourself up to make your family better. But here's the thing. Where's that time in there to make yourself better, right?
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm listening to these people's schedule. I was like, this is a managing director at JP Morgan Chase, killing it, super knowledgeable. I'm like, I could never do what this guy does in an Excel spreadsheet or talk to people the way he does or articulate this business model, this plan that they have at this level, right? I can't do that. But I was like, what I'm looking at is he's living his life not for himself. I was like, at some point, I was like, even now, he's probably going to burn out or there's not that much going on there. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you could see the dissatisfaction. And I saw that and I was like, it made me hate going in even more because I was like, the people around me, they're not inherently happy. I was like, I'm not happy here either. And I'm like one of the happiest, I was like the most fit guy in the office by like a country mile, right? There's 0 people in there in shape, right? So they're looking at me like I'm some like extraterrestrial species, you know, because I'm like in shape. But I was like, man, I'm not happy being here. I'm looking at you and I'm getting sadder about that because you're not taking care of yourself, you know? So I was like, in that moment, working corporate America, I was like, man, this is, it's really tough. I was like, seeing that, and that was weighing on my mental too, knowing that I'm kind of doing the same thing like them. I was like, there's no way that I can make it past the age of 30 and feasibly give my life to this and do this. I was like, the only reason why I'm even making it is because I don't have an obligation to a girlfriend, a family, or anything else. I don't have to go take care of anyone at home after. And these people all had to do that. I was like, my only obligation is to go to the gym and work out or hang out with friends and eat. And I'm not even motivated to do that, right? So if you look at it from that perspective, that's crazy, right? All these people have families, spouses, and they have to give 10 hours, right?
It's like, what probably hurt too is like, some of these people may actually enjoy the stuff that they do to enough
100%.
to where they can find a way but for you, it's like the purpose was misaligned. There's a cognitive dissonance almost of like your purpose didn't feel aligned with what you were doing in the day to day. And because of that, that started to affect the things that you really wanted to do, even outside. Because I remember when a similar experience when I was in corporate, For me, the gym was the one form of sanity in that period. Despite it being like something I had to really push myself to do, that was the one time of the day where it was like peaceful. But that would come at a sacrifice, right? That would come at a sacrifice of sleep. That would come at a sacrifice of doing other things. You know, at a certain point, you chose to pivot. What was that? What was that like? And that's kind of what led you to where you are now, right?
Yeah. So like I would go through, I would go, I would say during the bodybuilding aspect of it too, let me touch on that really quickly. It was really similar because I did it while I was in corporate. I was like, I'm blessed to be able to be working a job where I'm sitting down and I don't have to expend as much energy because I know my energy be low towards the ending stages. So I was like, I told you, I was 224. I stepped on stage at about 178 pounds, which is like, I'm like
Mm,
6'2". That's really light, right? And I
yeah.
lost, so I lost like, I was a guy that most people wouldn't think I had 20 pounds to lose. I lost like 42 pounds over the span of
Hmm.
3 months. So this is like following a regimented diet, regimented workout plan from another coach. I hired a coach on to do it, right?
Okay.
So during this time, this is why I'm like super meticulous about telling my clients, people that I work with, it has to be slow and steady. You can't do what I did. 2 months in, I had no energy. I couldn't get off the couch. Once I got below 200 pounds, I was like, man, I'm tired. I'm angry at people. Like, there's like, I don't want to talk to my mom. I don't want to talk to my best friends. I don't even want to go work out. And you couple this with the fact that I was already sad from the corporate world, it was a tough struggle, right? But I was losing like 3-4 pounds a week. And I was like, man, I'm leaner than ever. I look great, right? But that's why I
Hmm.
said, like, looks may be the motivation why you get into it. But then you realize there's a lot of health reasons behind it, the mental aspect of it. That all has to be aligned for the gym to pay off and truly benefit you, right? It's a
Yeah.
lifestyle, exactly what you said earlier, right? So this time, like during this time, the last month, man, I got sick during it. The last 2 weeks, I like couldn't even get off my couch. I was so tired. I went to like ref a soccer game the day after my bodybuilding show. I couldn't even run without getting tired for 10 minutes because I was doing cardio, but it was such low intensity on the Stairmaster because your body has nothing. You're eating like 1,100 calories a day, right? And so this
Hmm.
bodybuilding one is like, it just kind of compounds on top of the corporate experience where I said I was unhappy during the corporate experience between those combination of factors. The bodybuilding thing was like, I wanted to challenge myself and do it. For me, I know I didn't have to lose 40 pounds, obviously. I knew I looked fine the way I was, but I wanted to challenge myself and see if I could do something and prepare the right way. It's the exact same thought of when I started working out. I was like, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to hire a coach, right? I already had more education and knowledge about it at this point, and I'm going to
Yeah.
commit to it fully. So I did that, right? And next thing you know,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even care about the result of what happened when I went on stage. What I realized during it was during this hardship and this hard time, I was like, to see the amount of people rocking with me and supporting my journey, that's what really touched my heart and made it worth it. I was like, I did it. I proved to myself that I could do it. But the
Yeah.
amount of people that gave me props for doing it, that supported it along the way, and that came to my show from out of town, like family and all that stuff, that's what made it cool and that's what made it worth it, right? It was
Yeah.
like,
That's an
damn, I
awesome
lost all this weight.
accomplishment.
Yeah, and I didn't even do that good during the show. I look way better walking around now. I was like, I was like, I didn't. I wanted like a top 3. I didn't even get a top 5 in that show.
Mm.
I didn't even do great. And I'll openly admit that to anyone because it's a sport, right? I was a rookie at a
Yeah. Yeah.
sport going against 32-year-olds who were simply put, they were bigger than me too. You know, there's always bigger
Mm.
fish in the ocean. There's always someone who's better at what you're doing, right? And this was like a regional level, whatever. Like
And
there's big
competition is
dudes
different
there,
too, right? Like
right?
competition, there's like a whole science behind it. And the
Right?
regimen is crazy. And people do
Yeah,
this over, people really do this for a living. So one, it's like, I think it's an awesome accomplishment that you were able to put it together all while this is going on. And it's like an awesome feat, but it also like, I think it probably makes you appreciate more just lifting in general, the current state of things, right?
100%.
Like being able to be healthy while you do it, eat what you want to with a little bit of leeway.
So yeah.
That's
Contrary
awesome.
to contrary to what people think, like I basically eat whatever I want. It's just like when I'm home and on my normal diet, I know I can adhere to it and I'm regimented 80% of the time. But when I go out to eat, I order whatever I want. I
Right.
also don't drink, right? So that saves a lot of calories there. People don't
Right. Right.
realize how many
Right.
calories alcohol is, right?
No,
You
man.
know,
When I
that's
stopped
just
drinking, that was such an eye-opening thing of how like that's one of the only things like a macronutrient that will give you like calories equivalent to like fats, carbs, proteins. Like alcohol
yeah,
is one of the only other things
yeah.
that'll do that to you.
It's just like just getting dialed in, showing that I could do it. And then now, like, it was the best thing I ever did. I walk around at 208, 210. leaner than I ever was, in shape, and I haven't had the urge to eat fast food or junk food because I was like, man, I craved it during that, but I adhered to that diet. I kind of got rid of the urge for it. Got to see people rocking with me, like who really supports me, and I proved to myself that I could do something difficult, right? Not that I haven't done anything difficult in the past or whatever, but it was a really cool experience all around for sure. Great, definitely grateful I did it. I don't know if I'll ever do it again though. It's a lot on the mental, a lot on the physical, and that's why I preach to people. It has to be slow and steady.
We're doing that.
Like that 40 pounds that I lost was in no way sustainable. I could have never kept it off, right? I weighed 192 2 days after the show because I was binge eating, right? That's the reality of it. If you go too aggressive, too fast, without the motivation and the purpose behind it or the
It's
reasoning
just
and
not
understanding,
sustainable.
it's not sustainable. That's what fitness is. The bottom line is diet, exercise. Can you do it consistently for a really, really long period of time? You will get the results you want. And you probably will go further than you actually thought because your body's capable of a lot more. But that's the whole point. Exactly. And that's a really good example of it, even for my own
I think
life.
that
Like,
transgresses throughout like anything in
Right.
life, like the ability to stay consistent and compound, even if it's just a little bit, like to be able to compound that over long periods of time creates exponential gain. Whether that's like money, building good habits with studying, whatever it is. But that is so important to like know because the motivation is fleeting. I feel like once you build a certain level of consistency, it just becomes second nature.
100%, man. Like all this stuff sounds cliche, but you actually are hitting it on the head. Like, trust me, like I'm actually not motivated to go work out every day. There's multiple days, even recently. I'm so busy with work. I'm blessed to be able to be busy doing what I love right now.
Yeah.
I work more hours now than I almost did in the corporate world, but it's all stuff I like to do. And I'm never going to turn down an opportunity to be able to impact someone's life or make money to do something that I used to dream of being able to do and make money for, right? I'll be stupid too. But with that is I'm tired sometimes. I'm not motivated, but it's exactly what you said, discipline. I know I need to. I have to get my 3-4 sessions in a week. And in the end, I'm like, I look at myself physically. I look at my mental. I'm like, man, this stuff made me better than the person next to me or made me more comfortable in my own skin than them. It's not a want or any desire. It's a need in my life now, and I have to do it. And that's discipline, right?
So
Absolutely.
I had a few more niche questions that I think you'd be able to answer that I think. So in my 2026 goals, I've been seeing a lot circulating around this idea of within nutrition fiber and the importance of fiber. Is that something like you actually consider on your day to day? Like, am I getting enough fiber in this or am I eating the right things to do that? Or is that not something that you've looked at all?
No, absolutely. Like I said, like it's about gradually progressing and educating yourself. I used to only care about protein intake. I always eat whatever, right? I used to only care about going into the gym and lifting heavy weight. Now I care about how do I train a muscle through a full length of motion and my programming so I don't do the same repetitive thing. I know the science between what builds muscle most effectively. It's the same with diet. Like I said, I only cared about protein to start. Next thing you know, you're like, okay, maybe I should track my carbs and my fat. Next thing you're like, oh, okay, I'm eating this stuff, but I'm consuming no vegetables with it. What about my micronutrient intake? What about my digestion? That's what fiber is for, really, is digestion, right? So absolutely, that stuff needs to be considered. But it's the same thing. Like, can you add it on gradually? What I would say about something like fiber, right? Fiber absolutely needs to be considered in your diet. That's what creates good gut health, bowel movements, right? To keep stuff going in and out. Okay, but here's the thing. You can tell me you're worried about fiber? Let's look at the other aspects of your life first. How motivated are you? How dedicated are you? How consistent are you at the gym? Are you even eating the right amount of protein to start off, right? So it's building blocks, right? Am I dedicated in the gym? Okay, I'm dedicated in the gym. Now maybe I can start to expand my focus, my educational goals to maybe diet. Meaning, okay, let me try to hit my protein goal. Okay, now I want to lose weight. Let me start tracking my calories. Let me eat at a deficit, okay? Okay, good, I'm losing weight. Now how can I supplement this? I'm looking at what I'm eating. It's working to lose weight, but let me look at my diet holistically. Is there stuff I can add in that would maybe be better for myself, my gut health or whatever, right? Is there some vegetable that is causing me inflammation? Is there stuff like that? So it depends on what level you are and what nuance. And I would say fiber is a really nuanced topic because fiber can take away carbs. It counteracts carbs.
Yeah,
but amount of grams, right. But if you're going to worry about that stuff, I would say this is for really, really advanced people in fitness where like you're dialed into the gym. You have a really good understanding of what you're eating. You can consistently do it day in and day out with your diet. The reality of why I look the way I do and I feel the way I do is I simply put to be extraordinary at something. And I'm not saying that I'm extraordinary or whatever, right? But the word is literally extraordinary. You can't live the life of an ordinary person and expect the same results as someone who looks really good or does it. The simple reason why I stay lean year round and I look good is my life involves me moving around in a circle, walking nonstop. On weekends, I ref soccer. Sometimes I run 18 miles in a day on a weekend without me knowing it. because I'm making money. It's my job. It's what I like to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, I eat the same meals every day when I'm at home, religiously for years. I eat 6 eggs with avocado toast for breakfast. I eat ground turkey or some form of it, with pasta sauce, spaghetti, rice, broccoli. I have a 40-ounce smoothie every day. I have beets, cooked beets by itself, multiple whole cooked beets a day.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even taste that great. I actually think they taste pretty good now, but it's because
Yeah.
beets are a superfood and they're one of the best things for you. I was like, okay, I got to start eating that. I got to get into that. I care about my body. I want micronutrient intake, right? I drink kombucha every day. I drink a collagen tea I take a whole supplement stack, like 12 different vitamins, and I do this regimen daily. When I go out, I'll eat 10 rolls of sushi, have fun, do whatever, right? But that's 10% of the time. So here's my thing. If you're going to go worry about fiber or stuff like that, can you first adhere to that diet that I mentioned or something like that? Something that works for you, that you know gets results. Can you adhere to that? Then fiber is one of those things that you can add on to it. It's kind of like the seed oil thing. You know how people are really big on seed oils, right?
You shouldn't even worry about seed oils if you're like eating all this other garbage. Like,
here's the thing. I'll tell you this. Yeah, I'll tell you this, Samay. This sounds like arrogant as fuck. And this is why people are like, okay, this guy might be like cocky, like a douchebag or whatever. Why are you worried about fiber and seed oils when you out there drinking alcohol and getting drunk 4 days a week? Tell me that, Samay. Let's consider the facts of life. Alcohol is poison. There's not a single scientific study where it can be deemed good. And if you try to deem that it's good for you, you have a problem, right? You're dependent on it. If you want to have it to have fun, there's all are in some way, we have vices where we like something that's not good for us that we enjoy. And I'm the same way, right? I'm an imperfect human and I do stuff that is bad, but I might enjoy it and I know it's bad and I did it, right? That's just life. But alcohol is poison, right? There's not a single good thing. It messes up your sleep. It messes up your hormones. It messes up your ability to burn fat, right? And all these good processes in your body are being killed because of your alcohol consumption. And if you're binge drinking multiple days a week, right? So it's about the priorities in your life. So like fiber, bottom of the totem pole, nuanced thing, right?
Yeah.
I would say seed oils are the same thing. Way overrated, right? Obviously, for me, I only use olive oil and avocado oil when I'm at home because my life is dialed to that extent.
Definitely building blocks and levels to it. And there's like definitely like things that you need to address firsthand. Where does something like sleep fall on that totem pole actually for you?
Oh, sleep. I'm huge on sleep. Yeah, I would say sleep matters a lot more than fiber, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
That's like, and stuff like that. Like the nuances, like sleep is the reason why I think I really started progressing was I started focusing on sleep more. In 2020, when COVID hit and we got sent home from college, all I did was sleep 11 hours a day and then go work out. And next thing you know, I thought I was jacked after 6 months of working out. I gained exponentially more muscle and made exponentially more progress in the gym. When I started sleeping more and good sleep. Like I've never consumed alcohol and I was also consuming caffeine, but I was like, okay, let me move my caffeine consumption to earlier in the day so it doesn't impact my sleep. I saw the most gains, the most growth, the strongest I ever was in the gym or the strongest I am is when I sleep well and I recover. Even to this day, I'm big on sleep. If I get less than 8 hours, I'm no good. I'm cooked. My output in the gym is lower. I need caffeine. I need an energy drink. I can't be my vibrant self. I can't give the people that I work with my full self, my full energy, my full attention. Oh, sleep is not just for exercise and recovery. It's for how you interact on a day-to-day. All that stuff will get better if your sleep is good, right? So I'm a huge believer in sleep. You can't maximize sleep in that. If you get 8 hours and you're rested after, you're pretty much good, right? As long as you did it. If you didn't smoke weed
optimizing,
before, no.
Trying to
People
get
have
13,
a misconception. There's
14.
right. There's no like you can't actually catch up on your sleep. There's like scientific. There's no like you can't. That's not as if you like slept 3 hours one night and you slept 13 the next. You're still messed up from the 3 hours of sleep. Your 13 did nothing. That's just a normal night of recovery. If you would have slept 8, you would have been fine inherently anyways, right? I feel best when I sleep 10. I don't have the time to sleep 10 hours a day, unfortunately, or fortunately, like I'm blessed to be able to be busy enough, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? Like, it's not just a physical thing. It's just about like how you can interact and like your quality of life will improve. And I'm talking about sleep, like meaning you didn't smoke weed before you went to bed. Also awful for you, right? You didn't drink before you went to bed. That's not good quality sleep, right? It's about like getting into REM sleep.
REM sleep, quality sleep.
Absolutely. Where you didn't consume caffeine at 8 hours before, all that stuff. And that's what I'm inherently, and that's like, I love these questions because like, these are stuff I consider in my life now really heavily because I made it to the point where like I dialed in those basics, stuff that people pay me to help them understand and get better at.
To get into.
That's second nature in my life. I live that stuff. I do the diet that I have them executing, the workouts. I think of how I want to structure my program. I could do it in my sleep. It's second nature to me now. It's what I enjoy to do. It's ingrained in me, right? So now it's about how can I continue to progress myself to the next level? And that's where stuff like, fiber consumption, sleep, that stuff matters, right? Again, it's like I want to push myself to be as close to the top as I can. And it's not just like to look better physically. It's like I want to mentally,
feel better,
physically,
be
spiritually
better.
be the best version of myself. And all these little nuances, when you've dialed in the baseline, are building blocks on top of it, right? That's what it is. That's why I love these questions. Yeah.
So a little bit more nuanced question too. I think a silent struggle a lot of people have when they do get to a level of consistency and seeing results is body dysmorphia. I know that that's definitely something that I don't think I've dealt with personally. I've always had I've had a good mental image to the point, because when I joined lifting, of course it was to be aesthetically pleasing, but at a certain point I changed the narrative to like, I just want to be holistically healthy, because like I want to feel healthy, I want to be healthy, and I want to be healthy for the people around me. And 100%. I think that there's a lot of people our age, especially, who are struggling with body dysmorphia because they've tapped too much into the aesthetic image and identity behind that. What do you say to someone who might be struggling with that, or how to avoid that if you're just starting out?
Dude, that's such a good question. And first of all, I want to touch on your point that you started doing it holistically. Good for you, man. That's the key. Honestly, at this point in my life, the reality of a natural athlete, I'm putting on maybe a pound of muscle a year. It's nuance. I'm just muscle maturity. I'll look better as I get older because the muscle is more mature. I'm keeping working on it. It gets denser, stuff like that. But I'm not actually putting on that much new mass. So I'm not getting bigger. I'm actually focused on the same thing as you. Can I run a little bit longer on the treadmill without my back hurting? I do 30 minutes of mobility before I sleep now. Yoga moves, stretching. I want to be more flexible. My knee's been messed up. My hip has been messed up. I want to heal this stuff and get better. So I love that you said holistically. That's the ultimate progression. You made it to a point where physically you look really good and you're confident in your body because you executed in the gym at a high level. But then you went and expanded on it. You're like, I need this to permeate to all aspects of how I move and my physical health, right? Which then impacts your mental and how you can interact with the people around you. So really good stuff. I'm really happy to hear that from you. And that really is like, that's when you get towards the top level of it. But body dysmorphia, bro, is a real problem nowadays for sure. I'm not going to lie to you. I struggled with it. Like when I was for me, it was I went through a phase like, okay, now people think like I should have tell it how it is. I'm like, okay, I think I look better than this person in the gym, and I'll tell it to your face because I worked like no other to get this, and I lived a life that I don't personally think you could live to get this. So of course I'm going to be proud of it and tell it how it is. If someone looks bigger and better than me, I'm the first to admit it. I'm like, damn, that guy looks good as fuck, right? He looks good. Props to him. He might even be bigger than me. He might look better than me, whatever. But I walk around and I'm saying like, I don't think most people look as good as me. I don't think most people feel as good as me because I lived a life to get this and I'm proud of it. That's what it is. But during the journey, I did struggle with it, right? Like for me, it was like, honestly, body dysmorphia came from this fact that I looked at people online and social media. I was like, oh, these dudes look really good. I was like, then I looked at myself. I was like, okay, yeah, I thought I looked like that, but then I take a picture of myself in the mirror. I don't look like that, In addition to that, I was like, I struggled. Like this is, for me, my struggle was like my skin, to be honest. I had really bad acne too when I was in college, early college. Big struggle. So you combination of, I was still new to my lifting journey then. I never really had confidence issues with it, but I was self-conscious about it when you have bad acne and stuff, So I'm looking at it and I'm like, damn, I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, I could be a lot better. I was like, I'm not good enough. But I think where a lot of people, this is a really like tricky topic because a lot of people body dysmorphia can ruin them. I think for me, it gave me the ability to push harder and get better because I was like, I'm not where I want to be. I was like, I want to take better care of myself so my skin can get better. I want to take better care of myself so my body can get better and I can look like those people in the movies or the people in social media. And I always had the inherent dumb confidence that I was looking just as good. But when you're only a year or two into it, it's just not physically possible. You can't unless you're on steroids, right? And even that, a lot of people who are on gear, you still have to train correctly and eat. Those people are putting in effort, right? Some people don't get. You can't just take steroids and drugs and make it. Those people still put in effort and they have knowledge about it. Because what people don't get. That stuff is like, you still have to put in
They're
work.
also mostly for the most part, you hope that they're competing, right? Because if not,
you have to, because you can't be a natty and compete at that professional level. Everyone's on it. It's the bare minimum to be on an even playing field, right? But people just like don't get that, There's actually dudes at the gym next to you who you think look terrible who are on steroids. Let that sink in. Like, oh, this dude looks fat. He's blasting hella gear. and he looks terrible, right? Because he doesn't have the knowledge or understanding. He thought he was just going to get big, and he did gain size, but it doesn't look good doing that, right? So for me, body dysmorphia is like, I didn't let it ruin me. I use it as I was like, I know there's a day where I'm going to look like these people. I know there's a day when I'm going to be better. And it's because I'm executing the steps that I'm following where I've already seen great results, and I'm continuing to educate myself because I don't think I know it all and I want to get better. So that's how I use body dysmorphia. But body dysmorphia is really dangerous when you're starting off because, like you said, everyone has it to an extent. And you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself, really, if you say you don't have it. Because what's the reason why you're in the gym? It goes back to the original point. You're probably there because physically you want to look better, which physical looks and body dysmorphia are a one-for-one thing. And here's the thing. Social media is actually the best thing that happens to fitness and exercise, but also the worst thing because you can actually get the best education.
Oh man.
All for the best studies and people breaking it down who are way more knowledgeable about you. That's how I built my knowledge. But there's a lot of garbage to sift through, and there's a lot of people that look really good posting their physique. So if you're not careful with it and you don't find the right information, or you just can't handle the mental of you looking at these people who are unrealistic expectations. Here's the thing. Okay, listen, like these people that are posting up, if you saw them in real life, they would look good. Trust me. But they're taking a picture
look like that.
They're taking a picture with a pump under perfect lighting. They're putting that shit in Adobe Lightroom and editing it. I do that for myself. I can't believe how good I look when I take a picture now and I put it in Adobe Lightroom. I'm like, my God, you know, like you could you could go look at my Instagram profile picture. Like, I'm like, man, do I look like that in real life? Yeah, to an extent I do, but that's under perfect lighting, taken with a $4,000 camera where a professional editor went and did color grading on it, right? And that's what you're seeing on social media. The videos you see, the guys went in the sauna before. They're already lean to begin
100%.
with. They lifted in the sauna, got a pump, their flexing veins are ripping like crazy. That's not the standard. That's not realistic. Those guys don't even look like that walking around in their own house. They look
Comparison for sure is a thief of joy. But, you know, I like this positive spin on, I mean, I think body dysmorphia in its diagnosis is when it becomes a detriment to your life, right? When it leads to things like eating disorders and other negative consequences. But a positive spin on that is, you know, comparison is something that's like a natural human instinct, I think, especially in a day of social media, but you can create a positive spin with it in your mind. It's like, wow, that person looks really good. Maybe if it's a fitness person, then maybe there's resources that they've allotted to, or if there's other influencers out there where you really audit them, like you really audit the science behind that they're talking about or the workouts that they're proposing. There's so many positive people in that community.
For sure.
But there's also a lot of toxicity, like with anything. So I think for young people, it's important to not only, you know, discount the things that you see at face value and really go into looking through those things. But like you said, like there's so much positive free content out there that is so beneficial. But it needs to align with your goals, and you need to do the diligence.
Right.
And also give yourself some grace. Like, you know, aside from these people looking like this, they may not look like that 100% of the time. And that's not about you. Right? Like for you need to focus on your own progression. And sometimes for me, something that's helped is like when I first started really taking working out seriously, it was probably like 3 years ago, around the time of senior year, leaving OSU. I took a picture or a video of like my state back then. So like when I really start getting nitpicky about how I see my body now, I'm like, I'll go back to that original picture and be like, whoa, like I have to take a step back and be like, this is a marathon. Like this is a long-term journey. I think that also helps a lot. But for young girls, young guys who are going through this and starting off, like the only comparison I feel like is helpful is you. And
dude,
all the other stuff will come.
That's incredible. Yeah. No, that's absolutely it. Like, so what I would say is like when you look at the other people who look really good, you know what my mindset was? It wasn't beating myself up over it. I was like, shit, why can't I look like that? Why not me? I was like, why can't I live the life they live? Or why can't I look like that walking around? Honestly, like at this point in my life, I look back and that's what it is. I took pictures when I started a few. I look back and I'm like, holy shit, bro. I made it to the point where like I have the physique that if you showed me the physique that I have now as a junior in high school, I would have been like, damn, like I dreamed of this. This is what I wanted. This is my end goal. And the reality is now that I'm here, I'm not satisfied at all. But if you would have showed if you would have showed the 17-year-old me where I made it, he would have cried. He would have been like, damn, I would look like that one day. You know,
that's how we operate as humans, right? Like I think we set out certain goals and progression for ourselves, but your dopamine levels balance out. Like with any goal, like you get to a certain stage, it's never going to be like, well, one, you should fully appreciate that stage, but it's
For
always going to be
sure.
like, what's the next thing? And that's not necessarily bad, right? I think life should be a constant progression of
Absolutely.
continuing to move forward. Otherwise, I mean, so what? You reach the end goal and that's it. That's
Right.
so disheartening.
Yeah.
Like that's not
Yeah.
something that you can look forward to, but a constant process. That's why I think, like a big theme of I think the episode that we've had today is one, education, two,
Yeah.
process,
Yep.
three, intentionality. Those things are things that you can build around sustainably over a long period of time. So, the podcast itself is called If I Die Today. It's a little bit of like a striking title, but I wanted it to be something where the conversations I dig a little bit deeper on people because I think people all
For
have unique
sure. I love it. I
experiences and
love it.
unique things that
Yeah.
going on. I feel like I've gotten a good idea of, your purpose and what it feels to really strive for things. Now, tell me a little bit, like the main theme question is if you died today, what part of your story would you want people to remember?
Yeah, that's no, I truly love like the title of the podcast, and like I think about that. It just goes back to all the points you said, like those three things, like how you live your life, how you do it, and I love like what you said at the beginning. That's actually how I live my life. How you said that if you don't appreciate the journey and the struggle that you're on to get to wherever you think you're going to go or whatever your goal is, you will never appreciate that moment when you make it because you didn't actually appreciate anything in your life before that. And that's what I tell people. That's how I live my own life. First of all, we're never going to actually make it, exactly what you said. We're always going to keep getting better because we're imperfect humans and we can never be 100%, right? But if you don't appreciate the struggle and the difficulties that you had on your journey, whether it's fitness, whether it's life, right? It took me to go through a really shitty experience in corporate and realize that I can make money doing something I like. And we have the opportunity in this country. It took me to not feel great about my body at times. It took me hours in the gym. It took me nights where other people were partying to look and feel the way I do, right? And I appreciated every second of that journey, the good and the bad, so I can really appreciate the results that I got, right? So if I died today, like what I would say is that like I lived my life on my terms, like the way I wanted it. And I think people would say that. They're like, this guy could never be pressured to do something that he didn't want to do. No one could ever pressure me to try a drug. No one could ever pressure me to drink if I didn't want to. No one could ever pressure me to go out. If I hung out with someone, if I wanted to see someone, it was on my terms. I did it intentionally. And I wanted to be present and make the most of that interaction, right? I wanted to sit back and relax and watch TV. I did that, right? So I would just say, I did it on my terms and I was able to impact people because I brought joy and passion in something that I did like from like a true place of like passion and like and care. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like in fitness, especially, I think people would say that if I died, like I would just be happy knowing that some people would miss me.
Mm.
That's like I think that's really cool. Like I was able to impact people's lives through friendship, through fitness, and like generally just be myself. And people loved me for myself because not everyone's gonna rock with you, but a lot of people will rock with you if you're yourself and you put yourself in positions where your passion and joy can shine through and you can impact other people's lives. I think some people would miss me if I died. And I think that's really
Man,
cool. They would be
that's
like,
awesome.
this guy lived his life on his terms. I respected it. And he left a little bit of an imprint on my life in some way. And I think people would say that they missed that, And it goes
Man.
back to like, I put myself in the situations where I was able to use my personality, use my knowledge, my education, and I was always been smart. And I was able to, do that and not only make money off of it, but also impact other people's lives to that extent.
No, a lot of people would feel that. And I mean, I remember even in college, like I got a lot of inspiration from you to get back in the gym, to take it seriously. You're one of the only people that really made me, want to go do leg day a little bit harder because you and
Man.
Christian, one of our other classmates, would
Yeah.
talk about how much you loved leg day. And I still remember that every time I have leg day, which is today, ironically. But you impact a lot of people. And, there's so many people that you haven't even met that I'm sure through your content and social media and the work that you're doing now that would miss you. And, I'm really excited to see the progression of not just your private business, but, I remember even back in school, you would talk to me about the dream of owning a private gym. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Being one of the
100%.
first people to sign up when you
Hey
have it and when
man.
you got a
Yeah, you gotta
national
you get that you
national
get that free
following.
membership whenever you want.
But yeah, I really appreciate you joining the podcast, Nick. I think a lot of people will benefit just not to talk about fitness, but the mindset, the nutrition, and all the things that go along with it. If you guys want to follow Nick's page, he has so much beautiful workout content, a lot of beautiful fitness content in general. And I think you guys can learn a lot from him, especially if you're starting out in the gym. And please be on the lookout for his private business too. He's now started training and taking on clients and starting his own business. Or in general, if you're around, please do reach out to him, and I think you'll learn a lot.
Yeah, appreciate
But,
you. Yeah,
yeah, man.
Because I do online too, so it's like, if you're trying to work with it. But otherwise, it's like, yeah, I just genuinely appreciate you having me. I'm blessed to be able to do like what I do for a living now.
Thank you so much, Nick, for joining, and I'll leave all his social media and things below. And man, I think people really appreciate this week's episode. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you, Samay. I appreciate it, bro.
Thank you for listening to If I Died Today with your host, Samay Mishra. Every story reminds us that life's meaning isn't found in what we achieve, but in who we become. Join us next time as we explore another journey, another life, and another reason to keep going. New episodes drop soon, so subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if today's conversation moved you, leave us a review or share it with someone who'd appreciate the message.